It's a little after 12, and we're so glad you are here. I saw Hinsdale. Let's go. Thank you so much. I will be your moderator for today for these wonderful, amazing guests, as you can see on the screen. My name is Sean R. Pinkston. I'm the CCIM Illinois DEI Committee Chair, and I have over 20 years of residential and commercial experience. I love doing what I do with my brokerage, Sean R. Pinkston and Associates Group. I'm a certified project manager. I'm not going to read all of that hoopla, but I love being here. I love putting things together like this for people like you to come and get the knowledge and the information about what it actually takes to become a CCIM with the CCIM Institute. Okay, this is major, right? I'm so glad you guys took the opportunity and took advantage of being here today to make sure that you got this information from our amazing, amazing guests. And we'll switch the slide to get to the first one so that we can get the introductions rolling. Myra Voris. And we have Simon Inwea. I hope I'm saying your name right, Simon, because I like how it looks. Inwea.
Yeah, no, you said it perfect. I'm I'm just
Yeah,
I'm just happy my name is short, so
exactly. Simon leads a multi-state tech forward brokerage. You might see him around social media quite often. He's always talking about data centers. He's always got some really good knowledge
can I
out.
can I interrupt real quick, Sean?
Yeah.
We got a message saying that there are several people in the Google chat. I think two links were sent out. Is there a way we can broadcast on both, or at least maybe get in there and have somebody?
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
Simon, sorry to interrupt, but
yeah.
yes, we have Toy and Melody. I'm sending them the link for the Zoom, so they'll be joining there. I believe Dave and Travis should be joining there now. So I am keeping an eye on that. But yeah, I think there is some confusion because there was like the Google chat link and then the Zoom link.
Yeah,
So,
it
all
happens
right.
when you send out a calendar invite. And thank you, Simon, for that. Sometimes
Right.
you send out a calendar invite, you might forget to uncheck that box for Google. But either way, we're going to get everybody taken care of. But thank you for handling that message that you see there. Appreciate that.
Sorry for the interruption. Go
No,
ahead.
no, no. It was perfect. We want to make sure everybody gets in here and gets this information. But we've got our chapter admin on top of it. And as you can see, that was our chapter president, Shirayu, also in the mix. We are all a team here and we all get it done, but appreciate you and you're included. So let's get back to you, right? He's a SIOR member and associate. He has a specialization for industrial and data center sites. He's one of our mentors in the program. Yay, and a board member of the Institute as well on one of our committees. He's an affiliate director for NICAR, which is a commercial association as well. And he's been featured in Business Insider, Yahoo Finance, Chicago Tribune. We have a superstar on our hands, right? One of two. Our next guest, Myra Voris. Myra comes to us as well, and we're so happy for her expertise to be on this panel today to speak to you. She is a principal and founder of Horizon Property Group. She leads a full service commercial real estate firm out of Houston and Atlanta. She's closed over 30 million in transactions, and she's one of the top producers in the industry. Myra just earned her CCIM designation in 2025, and suffice it to say that so did Simon. So we have some brand new CCIMs in the building, so they can tell you about the up-to-date, most recent information on what you need to do to get your CCIM designation as well. She's active on boards and community service. She's passionate about education and youth empowerment, one of my hearts. She's a previous board member of Georgia CCIM, a board member of Kirkwood Business Association, and she's a lifetime rodeo and livestock show member. We're going to talk more about that because I want to know what that is. She's a guest speaker. She's been a guest speaker at Clark Atlanta University, Emory University, Georgia Military College, and local school. So we got the professionals and the best of the best here today. So, if you don't mind, I'd like to go ahead and move to the question answer section because we're all here and excited to get this information. So, Simon, sorry, Myra, why don't we start with you since your slide is still up? What is it that made you say, you know what? CCIM, that's it. That's what I want to do. Where'd that come from?
Well, that's a good question. When I first registered in real estate school in Houston, Texas, one of my instructors used to always say, the CCIM is the gold standard. That was something that he would always emphatically say. And when I heard him say that, I said, well, whatever that is, it must mean that's the best thing that you can achieve. And so that always resonated with me of something that I wanted to obtain. But as I kind of acclimated into commercial real estate, what was important for me is the more that I can educate myself, the more that I can add value to my clients. And so that was the groundwork of obtaining my CCIM. And I'm fortunate that I don't have to study for that anymore. So kudos to Simon as well for getting his designation as well last year. And I hope that this is something that everybody can accomplish if that is something that they want to do.
100%. And you hit it right on the head. It's the gold standard for those who don't know. It is the highest designation under the National Association of Realtors umbrella that you can actually achieve, right? I won't say receive, you can achieve for commercial real estate. It is the gold standard for commercial real estate. So kudos to the both of you because I hear that that test, that exam, those study materials are a beast. I'm going through the process myself and I have yet to get to where you are. And let me tell you, okay, just one-on-one in and of itself is a tough cookie for me, right? I'm not the numbers girl, that's my husband, but you got to make it work if you want to get through it. So
That's right.
kudos to you all for that. Absolutely. How have you found that it has benefited you since you've acquired it? What benefits have you realized?
Well, I think for me, this whole CCIM is all about education, networking, and using technology. For me, it was an added bonus for my clients because I think they instantly saw this is someone who is dedicated to do whatever it takes to educate and equip myself with the appropriate financing. It also allowed me to make things a little bit more digestible for my clients because, as you know, when we're meeting with so many clients in the commercial real estate, everyone has a different background. Some of my clients are not even, English is their second language. And so when you're communicating and trying to teach them about financial concepts, it has to be done in a way that they can understand. And I think with the CCIM, that has allowed me to kind of mitigate that process to make it a little bit more easier for my clients to comprehend.
I love that. I love that. Let's rotate the same question over to you, Simon. What made you actually choose CCIM as a pathway in your commercial real estate career?
Yeah, good question. So, um, I'll give you a little background as far as where I started. So I got into real estate because I had to. It was 2011. It was the Great Recession, and I couldn't find a job. And so I actually ended up borrowing money from my fiance's family, to be wife at the time, bought a condo, flipped it. And so I was doing that for a number of years. 2016, started a company with my wife, and we started redeveloping residential, multifamily, and mixed-use properties. And then 2017 and 2018, I got into digital securities for REITs, one of the first in the world. It wasn't qualified by the SEC at the time, but now I'm sure you're seeing on the news that everyone's shifting over to digital security. So we were a little bit early. But I got into the REIT business at the time, and so that was good. I got to learn, meet people in institutional spaces. At 30 years old, I was pitching to BlackRock's C-suite board, and so about digital security. So that was very nerve-wracking, and as you can imagine, but it was a great time. And so then I got back into trying harder in real estate, doing more redevelopments, and then in 2020, COVID hit. And I got licensed in 3 states as a salesperson. I ended up working at SVN as a senior advisor. So although I didn't have real estate brokerage education, I would say, or knowledge, I had a lot of real estate education, and I had owned a brokerage as part of my company. And so I was able to work at SVN, which was a great company. And then in 2023, I started SCNW. And so during that transition, I talked to some great people in real estate who I met through LinkedIn, so social media, which I've been using now for 10 years. And so I was able to talk to them, and they were very generous with their knowledge. They were a CCIM and an SIOR designee, and what they told me was this. They had a master's in real estate also. So I didn't come from a real estate educational background. And so what they said was, listen, the courses that I took at CCIM were as good, if not better, than the ones that were taken at the master's program for real estate. And so that got me thinking, I would do things intuitively, but my numbers were not straight, right? So I didn't know what I didn't know, and thinking I know something is more dangerous than not knowing something because that means I'll get things wrong. And so that's when I ended up taking CI 101, and it blew me away. I took it with Jim Rosen, who is a CCIM and an amazing instructor, probably the best instructor I've ever had. And he's a good friend now. I refer deals to him in St. Louis all the time. I see him when he comes up here to see his grandkids in Chicago. So we've built a very good friendship. And so I took CI 101, and it was mind blowing. It showed me everything that I thought I knew but I didn't know. And so that's how I got into it. And that was not too long ago. I mean, we're talking about I took the first class in I want to say October or November of 2024. And so, I just got pinned in April of 2025. And so it was not a very long journey, but it was very packed.
So that's not even 3, 4 months, Simon. How'd you do that?
Um, It was. Can everybody hear me okay? Somebody's in the chat asking about a background, but if you can hear me okay, I'll keep going. So, how did I
Yeah,
do it?
the admin will take care of the chat, Simon. Don't worry
Okay.
about
All right. So
it.
I want to make it clear. If I can do it, anybody can. Um, so I took 101, and after 101, um, it was clear to me that I needed more classes. And so then I kind of prioritized, okay, what do I need to do? So then I looked around. I said, I will try to get as many classes done and finish by April, right? For the sitting of the exam. And so I looked at all the classes nationally and I said, okay, how am I going to do this to make it work? And so I did apply for a scholarship, the CDEP scholarship through the CCIM Foundation, and I was lucky enough to get awarded. So that was, and I want everybody to write that down. CCIM Foundation. It's a great cause, and it allows people to get through the program. Otherwise, it would be very difficult or there'd be too many barriers for them. So, um, it's open right now for first generation commercial real estate practitioners. You don't have to be a broker. You could be in any industry that touches commercial real estate, right? Appraiser, attorney, um, you name it, right? So, facilities manager. So I applied. I was lucky enough to get the role. I'm sorry, get the scholarship, and so I then wanted to strategize and figure out which classes I had to take. So a lot of people here in this chat actually were in my classes, and they will remember me as the person with the baby that was 7 days old in one of the virtual classes. I was holding the baby, taking the class, and so I kind of scheduled it through that time between November until April before sitting for the exam, and I was able to do CCIM 101, and then I did 103 and 104 virtually. And then 102 I did in Arizona, which I also work in Arizona. So I was able to do all that. I had to take a few more electives because I was, you know, less than 12 months, you get elective credits. So then I took a few electives, and those were specifically based on analyzing developments, which were again very, very helpful. Um, and then I did my portfolio, which again, I want to be clear, if you're transitioning from one career in commercial real estate to another. Let's say you're doing commercial banking and you're going to go into commercial brokerage. All your experience counts, right? So I started 5 years back because that's the oldest you go. So I started 5 years back, and all my commercial development experience counted towards my portfolio. And so my older stuff was, you know, portfolio for development for commercial, but the newer stuff was all brokerage. And so I want to make that clear that, it's not one thing, but as long as you're doing something in the commercial real estate realm, that's part of your portfolio, it's part of your experience. And so I was able to finish that right on the line. I was in the class in 102 in Arizona, and my portfolio was approved after going back and forth 5 times. Um, and then I was able to sit for the exam. It was a 6 hour exam. And luckily, I had taken all the classes close together, and so the information was still fresh in my mind. But that's how I got started in real estate. That's how I got interested in the CCIM program, and that's how I ended up with a designation in less than 12 months, much faster actually. So,
Now you're only the second CCIM, and we've had quite a few, over a dozen, for our chats. Only the second one that has done it in less than a year. And you mentioned a couple of poignant things that I'm hoping everybody took note of that's interested in this pathway. You mentioned getting it done in less than 12 months. You get elective credits because you do have to take electives in addition to these core courses. So you mentioned that. You mentioned taking the exam right away after you've done your studies. There's so many people that reach out to me and say, hey, I did these classes about 15 years ago. Should I sit for the exam? No. Do a review class. Make sure you have that information because a 6 hour exam is nothing to sneeze at. You definitely want to make sure you're prepared for it. You mentioned everything that you do counts for your portfolio. All of these are huge nuggets and great takeaways. So thanks for sharing those. And once again, kudos to you for pushing through and getting it done with the baby. Okay. With the baby. Sending it over to you, Myra, just because we did hear quite a bit from Simon about his entire process. I kind of want to shift over to you a little bit and find out what your process looked like to actually complete your courses and how long it took you to get done and what were some methods you used, whether it would be virtual, attending in person. Like Simon used the credits for his electives to get done because of a shorter time frame of acquiring getting his coursework done. What were some processes and things that you used to get your CCIM?
And Sean, before I answer this question, I wanted to know, am I going to read my PowerPoint, or will this be the Q&A? Because I just want to make sure that I answer it in the time frame that is specified.
Well, you know what? This would be the first for us using a PowerPoint. And if you've shared that with Victoria already, she has that queued up and ready for you to go whenever you're ready.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure.
So, you said you have your own PowerPoint, correct?
Yes, I emailed Karen the presentation.
Oh, okay. So what I can do is give you, or is Karen on here?
She may not be.
I just logged on, but I am not on my laptop. So I will if you can put it on your screen, that'd be wonderful.
Okay, was that emailed to me? Because I don't have the PowerPoint.
Well, I tell you what.
I can give somebody co-host.
I tell you what, let's move through the Q&A. Apologies, Myra, for whatever that mix-up is with your slides. Please make sure you send it over because I would love to then share it afterwards so that your information is still valid and out there. Let's move through the Q&A so that we get the people what they want, you get the information out. And we just want to hear so much about how your process was, just like we just heard with Simon.
Yes, absolutely. I just a lot of what I'm saying is what I put on the presentation. But either way, let's rock and roll. This is what it's about. Okay, so essentially, I ended up obtaining my CCIM designation. Similar to Simon, I served on the board for 2 years in the Georgia chapter. And I was just very hands-on. I've always just been someone who is just eager and ambitious and just really wanted to serve. And I think a lot of the board members saw that. And I was awarded I think it was called the Les Callahan Scholarship. And that was able to afford me the C101 class. And I actually took that in Nashville, Tennessee. After that, I took the remaining classes, the 102, 103, 104, all in Atlanta. But what I did, because I'm someone who is very cost effective and I love saving money. And so there is a program through our local Georgia area Realtor Association, which allows you to take a course and then you are reimbursed for that course afterwards. And so that is something I'm not sure if you all have that, but that's something to also take note of. And so I took it October 2023, and then I finished my last 104 class in November 2024. After I took all of my classes, so it took me about a year or so. And once again, you have to also schedule to make sure that those classes are kind of in session. Sometimes they may be not even be in the city where you're at. So that's also something to kind of keep in mind for those of you all who are trying to plan and execute the pinning. After that, you have to gather your deals. You have to get letters of recommendation. Um, and then once you submit the application, which is what I did, I then was allowed, because after that process, you're allowed the opportunity to essentially take the exam. And so after you are getting that permission, you can now move forward and take the exam. That's when the second part of studying happens, which is the not so fun part, but Georgia is pretty forward thinking in that we had what we call like study sessions. And so me and probably like 9 or 10 of my other classmates, we would all meet on a weekly basis and we were studying before our designation in Miami. And then as Sean mentioned, the test is 6 hours. You're in this huge ballroom with so many people and they're trying to all like figure it out. And what I did was they had a scrap sheet of paper. There was some pencils, and I remember just writing down like on the corner of my paper, I am going to pass this exam in Jesus' name. And every time where I feel like a little discouraged, I just look over there and I'm like, I can do it. I can do it. And not only did I pass my exam, but I passed with flying colors. I had told the instructor, I said, I'm going to get an A. And he said, oh, you sure about that? I said, yeah, I'm going to get an A. And then I made sure I got an A and I came up to him and I told him. But that was really my pathway. I wanted to be cost effective. I know real estate is expensive. And so I did what I could to be resourceful.
I love that. I mean, your stories, both of you, are so inspiring. Again, the short amount of time, usually what we hear is a couple of years. That's usually the quote unquote standard that you hear CCIMs advising individuals of how long they can plan to possibly take to get through their coursework because it's in different places and things like that. And you guys just made it work and did what you had to do and got it done in a year, under a year. I mean, those are some great time frames and some inspiration, hopefully that people are getting that are looking to acquire it soon enough. I'm one of those. So thank you for sharing that. And while you're still with the mic, what are some challenges that you felt that you ran into and that you overcame?
Well, for me, there was a lot of challenges that I had to overcome coming into commercial real estate. I remember when I first started, well, since I'm not going to do my PowerPoint, let me just go ahead and kind of a little bit share a little bit about my background. So before I got into commercial real estate, I was an educator. And so not only was I an educator, I was a professor. I also was an academic counselor. And I knew at the time my mom had a massive stroke that impacted about 98% of her brain. And so I knew I needed to have some type of flexibility, because at the time my mom was bedbound and she was relearning how to talk and walk. And I remember just praying about it because I knew I needed a career or an opportunity where I can be a little bit more flexible, but also still supporting my family. And I prayed about it earnestly, and God revealed to me in a dream. And I know it was God because I know it wasn't me, because I already had a stable career. I didn't know anybody in commercial real estate, but I knew that He was telling me to do commercial real estate. And so, with anything, I shared it with my husband, and I said, I feel like God is telling me to do commercial real estate. You know, what do you think? And he looked at me with like all the confidence in his eyes, and he said, if God is telling you to do commercial real estate, I know you're going to be successful and you have my support. And so my story is very unconventional as far as coming into commercial real estate. I wasn't doing it for the money. I wasn't doing it for, um, anything. I didn't know anyone. This was all brand new, but I knew it was God led, and I knew I needed to take a leap of faith. And so my whole story from start to finish has always been about servitude. I always tell people I can't be bought. And so if whatever I'm doing is not in accordance, it's not in a reflection of who I am, the integrity, the values, the principles that I feel that are important, I'm not going to do it. And so coming into commercial real estate was already a challenge because I was already new to this industry. So there were people who told me, um, you're not going to make it. A lot of Black women in this industry, and I'll just be frank, a lot of Black women don't even get the opportunity to enter into this business. There were people that said, being married, you're not going to be able to do that either. A lot of people who are married aren't successful. So I heard a lot of no's and people who were telling me that you just couldn't do it. Even when I got into my commercial real estate, when I was taking classes in real estate, and I finished my courses and I did everything that I needed to do, I began applying for applications and I was interviewing, and one person told me, you don't even look like a commercial girl. You look like a residential girly. And I didn't even know what the heck that even meant. Because I still to this day don't know what that means.
Right.
But I was so determined to be successful in this industry, and not because of any of the naysayers or the doubters, but because I knew that God had selected me. He handpicked me to do this, and I was going to give it every single thing that I had in me. And so, yes, there's been obstacles. I faced discrimination. I have faced racism. I have had people who said they don't want to work with me because of my skin color. I've had clients that I've called on the phone and they sat across from me and they said, "Oh, I didn't know that was you." And they thought I was the secretary. But in all of those situations, you all, I did not allow someone else to determine my destiny in commercial real estate. And so, yes, Sean, to sum it up, I have had obstacles, but guess what? I've had blessings. I'm still here. I'm still grounded. I'm still planted. And I hope just even me being in commercial real estate with my designation, with my own brokerage, being in multiple states, that people can see that there's no one that can steal your shine. There's no one that can tell you what you are or you can't do. If God tells you you can do it, if you believe it in everything, fiber in your body and your heart, you are going to do it. So just keep going.
I love it, girl. You got everybody over here in the chat crying. Like, what is going on? I mean, bravo to you. And I pray and hope everything is well with your family and the situation. Kudos to your husband for all that backbone support that, we all need that in life in general, but especially in commercial real estate. And you tell the story that so many of us African Americans and women go through in this commercial real estate industry. I think that is a powerful mention because those are some challenges that we run into, and we still keep going. We still keep pushing. We do things like this. We share the information. We get the information however we can get it. We push through the adversity for the blessings that are at the end. So thank you again for sharing that with everyone. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Simon, for you, challenges, and then how did you overcome those challenges? And then we've got about 9 minutes, and then we'll get some questions and answers.
Yeah, of course. So, I want to thank you, Myra. Thank you, Sean. Myra, I see, I see your story, and I see it a lot. I was just at SIOR in Kentucky. SIOR, if you guys are looking, it's a different designations for office and industrial professionals, and there's about 3,300 of them. Um, when I was there, there's not a lot of minorities, right? I saw one woman of color in the entire conference. And that's not that's not a good representation of what's really out there. And so, things are changing, they need to change, but I see it, And so as um as someone that's so I'm Assyrian, if you don't know. We are the indigenous people of the Middle East, predominantly Christian. And so, we there's a lot of persecution that's been happening, especially like recently with ISIS and things like that. And I think that I think I'm the first CCIM that's from my cultural background or my ethnicity. So, um, with that said, there's not a lot of mentors, right? And so mentorship is I think a big issue. I've recently got some good mentors, and I had to reach out and try to get those. And so um, one of the issues that I had was learning through unconventional means, and doing it not through education, like Myra, right? She was in education, right? And so I was in life sciences as an education background, and so I didn't have that kind of real estate analytical, finance background. Um, but I will share some tips. Um, I'm throwing it right now in the chat for everyone to download. There's a new designation bundle that just came out. I've been talking to leadership for the past few months. And so it was like a challenge, right? Let's get people a CCIM designation in 12 months or less. And so I just dropped it in the chat, download it. It's a discounted method to get your designation in 12 months or less. Um, and also, I'll give everybody some test tips because I'm seeing here in this in everyone's chat that you're in some of you are in classes. Some of you are close to taking your test. So a couple things, and Myra, you can back me up on this. Number one is take two screens with you on your exam. Okay, you can take a laptop and you can dual screen it. I didn't know about this, but I happen to have my iPad with me, and so I was able to use my iPad for the exam and my laptop for the open note part of the test. Okay, so take two screens with you if you can, preferably on one computer, on your exam. Number two is prepare a folder for your exam. It's an open note, open book test. Okay. So if you've taken the 101, 102, 103, 104, make sure you have all those spreadsheets in an organized format. You know how to use them and have them on a folder on your desktop, on your laptop on the main screen. And the reason for that is it's going to be so much easier for you to get to those documents and get to those spreadsheets if you're taking your exam. It's a 6 hour exam. It's very difficult, but it's not impossible, right?
Mhm.
Most people pass the first time around, and some people don't pass the first time around. You're able to retake it right after. Make sure you retake it if you fail. You know, don't just walk out. You've come that far. You've done all your classes. You've done your portfolio. You are there.
Yeah.
If you have to retake it, study the night before again, and retake it. So those are my tips for the actual exam.
And
Uh,
there's a fee for that retake, Simon? There's a fee for that retake?
there is not a fee for the retake, I believe, if you take it right away. So if
Oh,
you go home and you gotta, sign up 6 months later for another exam, that's a whole nother thing. You gotta, but if you fail, you're able to read, and there's a small review class. They'll go over the things with you, and then you can retake it right away. So I would say about 120 people test. I think 20% fail, and then half of those pass on the retake. So make sure you retake.
good tips. Good tips. Aren't those some good tips? When you guys say those some good tips, especially that bundle. We got about 3 more minutes for questions. Would you add anything to that, Myra?
I think for me, being an educator, I'm always one of those people, whatever I want to do, I just want to immerse myself in it. Also, because of CCIM, with the designation being in different cities, I told my family, right? So, talk about pressure, guys. And so, if you don't pass, it's like you see your family members from across the world and they're looking at you like, come on. And so for me, I was like, if I'm gonna have my siblings and best friends and my husband there, I knew I needed to pass and be successful. So I took those study groups with the rest of my colleagues here in Atlanta. I also paced myself because I mean, you're studying, right? But you're also still working. And so I was very honest with myself. And you guys know yourselves better than I do. And so for me, that looked like reviewing the book, going over problems, putting myself in a quiet space. Some people like to listen to music while they're studying. For me, it's just kind of silence. I might even have piano music in the background. Um, and I was looking at flashcards. And what I was also doing was I would now pretend to teach someone else. And that's how I felt like, okay, I'm ready. I think I have it. And in addition to that, the week of the actual CCIM exam, you all, there is an option where you can also have a kind of like a cram exam week. And so for 2 days, you're in this, once again, this huge ballroom with hundreds of people in the classroom. And those instructors, the CCIM instructors, are also reviewing that material. So this also gives you an opportunity to ask questions, raise your hand. Sit next to other people who may understand it a little bit better than you do, and really give you an opportunity to revise any questions or any concerns. And then once again, like I told you all, I'm a believer, so I just was praying and really just getting down on my knees and saying, please, Lord, I just need your help, because sometimes we can psych ourselves out. And as a former professor, a lot of times people know the material, but they have test anxiety. And so if you can just like take a breather, reset yourself and tell yourself over and over, I can do this, I am going to pass this exam. I am smart enough. I am capable. I really feel like that can remove all of your anxiety or all of your worry. And for me, I did everything that I could in order to successfully pass the exam on my first try. So once again, that was study groups. I reviewed by myself. I also paid for the CCIM kind of a cram study exam week. And then once again, the most important, I prayed and and I was able to pass. And so once again, y'all know what works for you all, but that's what helped me.
What's the cost for that cram week, those 2 days?
You know what? I am not going to tell you a lie. I cannot remember.
Okay, all right, we can get the information. We just need to know that it exists. That's a good note. It's a good
It
note.
does. It
There
does
you go.
exist.
And
And everybody has their
I,
own way of studying.
and I do want to add, take the CCNR or CCR, take it in person. There's online versions of it, there's virtual versions of it, there's self-study versions of it. No, take it in person because they'll give you tidbits of advice. You work through the problems with a group, with the instructors. And these are the same core instructors that you have for CCIM 101, 102, 103, 104. So make sure, I recommend you take it in person. Price wise, I want to say it's under 2 grand. I think it's like 1,600, but don't quote me. I know it's included in the bundle. Um, but and then let me know, Sean, when we're heading to questions, because I think we're getting questions from the audience.
Yep, we got a few in there. We're right at that point at 12:45. Thanks for those tips. And for those who don't know, that CCR is basically a CCIM course review that she was talking about, right? And if it's included in that bundle that Simon did drop the notes, the link to in the chat, make sure you get that and review that information if that's something that you're interested in. It's that designation bundle, 12 months or less, which answers the question to Melody. If we have a full plate in CRE working pipeline, how attainable is it to achieve this in 12 months or less? So we've got that bundle. But Melanie, does it answer your question how achievable it is, hearing that Simon actually had did it and then kind of hearing his ways in which he did that and studied? And feel free to come off mute, Melody.
I want to answer Melody's question. Melody,
Yeah.
thank you for that question. It's okay. So sacrifice, right? I enjoy like you're not going to be successful, especially for a long time in commercial real estate, unless you love commercial real estate. So I love it. I mean, it's a hobby for me as much as it is a job, or a career. I really enjoy it. You'll catch me at 1 in the morning looking at properties in different states just because I enjoy it. It's got nothing to do with my work. And so, what does that mean? It means sacrifice, right? So, yeah, you're not going out. Maybe date night's canceled, right? You don't get to hang out with the kids as much. You got to be really efficient at your work, and then learn to say no. And another thing I want to point out is speciality. Like, are you a specialist? You can make more time by not focusing on everything and focusing on one thing. And so that's one way to kind of improve your time management skills is by focusing. And so if you're able to focus, you will create more time for yourself because like you're not worrying about, oh, I got to learn about multifamily and retail and industrial and for the people transitioning from single family or residential to commercial, then you're doing both, right? And so, and that's for the broker side. On the industry side, like if you're an attorney or whatnot, again, there's so many things that you could focus on it and try to get it down in 12 months. It's very, very possible. Just look at your time management skills, make the sacrifices where you have to, and then just understand that there's a benefit to it. And that benefit is the knowledge, the analytical knowledge, and the network, right? I mean, we're all here today because of CCIM. And so that network effect is huge. And I mean, I could talk about that for that alone is worth the designation. But I mean, but it can be done.
That's a great point. That's
I'll
a great
chime
point.
in. I know the question wasn't asked of me or directed towards me,
Well,
but
this is our president, you guys. I don't mean to cut you off. The president of the CCIM Illinois chapter, Chirayu
thank
Patel.
Thank you.
Yes.
I won't take up too much because this has been a great learning experience, but I'll chime in. Melody, I saw that you are already from your initial CIPS certified. I'll just say that first of all, thank you, Myra and Simon, sharing your experiences. It's been really eye-opening even for me to hear both of your stories and the challenges that you've overcome. I took the 4-year approach, meaning that I took one course a year. And then at the same time, I was building my portfolio. So, yes, definitely doable in the year. But I think we have two rock stars here today that have been showing it. But that does not mean you have to do it in 12 months. There are people that have been doing it in 18 months or 2 years or one class a year like I did because I was also sort of trying to build up my pipeline. And I know that I needed to get my portfolio done to get the pin too. So I would balance out. It's Melody, you might be able to do it in 12 months, as Simon mentioned, because you already have a pipeline, you already have transactions for your portfolio. So then it's just a matter of when can you fit the courses that you need to take. And with that, I'll go on mute again. Thank
Makes sense. Thank you for that input, Simon. Definitely appreciate that. And that's what I mean. Some people have a plan of how long it's going to take over years, and as you heard today, it's definitely doable. So in less than a year or just a little over a year. So it really depends on what that looks like for you, what your drive is, what your goals are, and what your capacity is, right? That's huge. We have another question. Jamila, how many scholarships are offered per year for the first CCIM class? Shirai, you'd want to take that one?
So, first on scholarships, is that there are two entities that give out scholarship. One is CCIM National, the one that Simon mentioned, that's the more generous one, that is offered by National. So that I don't know the number of. That's something that the National would know. The earlier today in the chat, I also put a link to the Illinois chapter. So that is decided locally by by the committee from the Illinois membership that decides that scholarship. So those we have like three of them. Take a look at the link. They're very specific, or they're named education scholarships. So meaning that there were former CCIM members in Illinois that wanted to leave a legacy. So I think one of them is for the 103 course, or one of them is for the 102 course. So I encourage you to look at both, the chapter level. If you're in Illinois, look at the Illinois one. If you're in Wisconsin, look at the Wisconsin one. And then, of course, the one that Simon mentioned, the one that's offered by the national. But I think they might be able to let you know how many they're offered. But that one is full, almost a full ride, I believe, per Simon, which is that all of your courses are sort of scholarships. So all four of the core courses, and then like one or two electives are covered in there.
Yeah, so it's now it's five. So the foundation offers a $5,000 scholarship. Um, it's a little different from when I got it last year. There's also a veterans scholarship, and so if you are a veteran, please look into that. It's the most generous scholarship there is, and rightfully so. Um, to answer the question, Melody, I don't know if you can get this. That's a question for the foundation, but I will say this. If you are working at a company, right? Remember, this is not only for brokers, it's for all people in commercial real estate. Go to your boss, go to HR. If you're a broker, go to your managing broker and say, "Listen, I want to do commercial real estate. I want to get my CCIM designation. Will you help me reimburse my classes? Will you offer me a percentage? Will you offer to pay for something?" The worst they could say is no,
Yep.
and you might as well ask because a lot of times money is available beyond just the scholarships from CCIM. Look at community organizations. Some of them also offer scholarships for improvement of skills. And so, look at all the different methods of, work, CCIM, and then also your community organizations and see where you can get those classes. And you don't have to do it in 12 months. But definitely look into seeing how you can get those classes. But yeah,
Thank you for that, Simon, for sure. We've got about 5 minutes, 5 or 6 minutes left. We want to take at least 2 minutes for each of you rounding this off, talking about we've got Toy Robertson in the chat, one of my mentees. She has a question. So getting the CCIM is more than coursework. Will you share your experience about your commercial transactions? Where areas did you focus in? Any tips for others to get started on that? And then how did you, if you did, could you try to balance including residential with that commercial aspect? I know you talked about condos earlier, Simon, as well. So it's kind of like a 2/3 part question there, if you will. But spend maybe like a minute or minute and a half kind of talking about your experience with a particular transaction. You're muted,
I'm
Simon.
muted. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
if you're doing transactions, they have to be commercial in nature. Okay. I would say start on your portfolio very, very early. Don't do what I did and try to cram it at the end. It was a nightmare. Okay. And that's going to be worse if you're changing jobs, if you're changing brokerages, if you're going, from one commercial real estate area to another, like commercial banking to commercial management, right? So keep notes of your portfolio very, very early. And to answer, what areas that I focused on, mine initially was redevelopment and development, and then it was commercial brokerage. And so, but start today. Like if you're taking classes, start today and go over your portfolio. It's an Excel spreadsheet, and then there's a streamlined version too. So if you're getting your master's in real estate or otherwise, they have a streamlined version and then they have the full version. And so look to see which one you qualify for. I know we're running out of time, so I'm going to drop my email right here in the chat. If anybody has any other additional questions, feel free to send me an email, and I'd love to answer those for you.
Thank you for that, Simon. And that streamlined process that he's talking about is where some of your courses can kind of equate out when you take that master's in real estate. And there is a partnership with, I want to say Roosevelt, Columbia, where a portion of your core courses, only the core courses, not the electives, for the designation may be equated out from the actual courses you take for the master's program. Okay. Myra, go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, I was going to say, in addition to that, there are some residential transactions that may qualify. So be sure to speak with the CCIM designation coordinator of your chapter, just to verify those things. And like Simon also mentioned, don't be shy to ask for money from your brokers and your companies. One of my good friends is one of the directors of real estate for Wells Fargo, and she was actually able to get her courses paid for. Another colleague of mine was an associate broker, and his broker agreed to do 50-50. So he paid 50% of it, and then the broker paid the remaining. So don't be shy. Feel free to ask those people who can help you to help you.
Point.
Yeah.
Good point. We got a question. LaDonna Logan has her hand raised. LaDonna, you got a question?
Thank you, everyone. I mean, this has been so inspiring. I just had a quick question. What courses would you hands down say this is not one to take virtually?
For me, I love to take all of my courses in person. One, because I feel that I pay attention and I'm able to observe and learn all of the information. And two, as we've kind of highlighted, the networking piece. You meet so many people from all around the world, whether that's, Hawaii, Toronto, and so forth. And there are those unique experience that you have from being with people in the class where you guys can build rapport and eventually may even be able to transact with one another. Even the CCR class that I mentioned for the CCIM designation, I also did that in person because for me, I didn't want any distractions. I didn't want anyone to be calling me or asking me for help while I'm in the house. And so that allowed me to take some time away to essentially focus, lock in, and do what I needed to do to be successful in those courses. So sometimes if you're in this particular city, they may not offer all those core classes. In Atlanta, we do offer all 4 courses per year. So once again, you just have to know what is your bandwidth and your capacity that you can take on. And also just to highlight again with Sharu Patel mentioned is you don't have to take it in a year if that's not your capacity. It's a good objective to do. It's wonderful, but sometimes life happens, guys. And so I don't want you guys to put pressure on yourself. Be gentle with yourself, do what you can, and do your best within what you can.
I love that. Be gentle with yourself. That's so important. We've got 1 minute, 15 seconds each. Favorite book, favorite quote. Either one, Myra, Simon.
I can tell you what book I'm recently reading. That's a really good book. In fact, I have it right here behind me. So if you go into commercial real estate, it's called The Sequence. It's called The Sequence. It's by Alan Buchanan. He's an SIOR. I met him in person in Kentucky. Great guy. Um, and I can't think of any quotes right now, but
That's okay.
I'll give you I'll give you a really good one from Bob Knackle, who's a great friend of mine who's taught me a lot. He said real estate's easy. You only have to work half the day as long as it's 12 hours. So
He's a comedian. Got it. Myra, favorite book you're reading now, quote.
Yes. Okay. For me, I love to read, by the way. I think a lot of people would say I was definitely have been a geek all my life, which I love. I won like the book competitions in elementary and throughout. But for me, I would probably say there's quotes that I would resonate with the most. The first one is by the late Maya Angelou, which is a person will never forget essentially the way you made them feel. And I think that is one of the core quotes that I embody because no matter where my client is from, what they're wanting me to do, I always believe it's important to really be kind and treat people well, because people don't forget the way you make them feel. I'm sure everyone can remember feeling wonderful and how they interacted with someone and they made them feel special. And so that's always been very important for me. And just to highlight Martin Luther King, I would say one of his quotes is, if you can't fly, run. And if you can't run, walk. And if you can't walk, crawl, but keep moving forward. And I think that is an important quote to also remember. Sometimes commercial real estate, it is hard. Sometimes you've done every single thing that you can do, and the deal just blows up on you. Sometimes people are going to tell you you can't do it. Sometimes people are going to essentially try to get you to almost break down, but it is so important to keep moving forward. And I think that's something that I always try to remember.
Well, thank you to the both of you. We've gone 2 minutes over, but it was well worth it. I hope you all think that you both have made us feel very special with all of your information that you've been sharing, your knowledge, your tips, the resources. Simon put his email in the chat. Feel free to do so, Myra, if you are open to that way of communicating with everyone. But the next chat is going to be April 23rd, same bat time, same bat channel. Please go back to the website and register for that next chat, and we will have the wonderful Charles Padawan, CCIM, who will be with us. He was one of my one-on-one classmates, so you're in for a treat with that. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Appreciate you. See you next time.
Thank you so much.
thank
Bye-bye.
you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you both. Appreciate you so much. Thank you all.